ตอนนี้ก็มีของกินเยอะครับแต่แพงครับแต่ว่าที่เจ๋งที่สุดคือร้านนี้ครับ South Tree ที่มาเปิดบ้านเราแล้วก็เจ๊งไป
ไม่ได้รู้เลยว่าเจ๊งความสุด
ก็เต็งเลย
ใช่맞습니다.
What was your opinion or your perspective about those idols in the film?
After I talked to them, I mean the outsider may think like the system is quite cruel, something like that. But when I talk to them, they have some suffering sometimes, but actually they're quite happy to be here because maybe it's their dream. You know, it's like because all of them actually they are quite ordinary girls. They almost never have some opportunity to be on stage or something like that. I think this is one way to be there. So they sacrifice and exchange many things with this status. So I quite respect for this. Actually, they know conditions. They know the rules of the band. They know almost everything, but they admit it. So I think it's okay. Yeah.
되게 모든 GV 질문
I'd like to especially mention that I really enjoyed this film. And since you mentioned that this screening is international premiere, that means that the band group is already known to local market. So what was the reaction of the local audiences to the group?
The reaction is quite. There is two groups. You know, it's like one is hardcore fan, and another one is general audience. In the first process of making this film, I have to make a decision to choose one way, and I choose the general audience because I'm quite semi. It's like I'm a little bit fan and I'm a little bit general audience. I follow their song, but I'm not a hardcore fan. So I make decision to make the film to that way. So the opinion is quite love-hate actually, because the hardcore fan they might not like it much because they want something deeper, something darker. But sometimes I don't have anything like that in the interview. It's hard to fight with their imagination, you know, because when I make an interview with them, sometimes I know the real feeling of them, of the members. But the fans sometimes they imagine something. They never talk to them in person, and they have some image they want to see it, which actually there's nothing in reality in the real feeling of the member. So, but as a filmmaker, I can say that it's not an excuse. So I have to have a confidence to the way, to the direction that I decide to make. But for general audience, it's quite well received because general audience they just know about their song and they think they just like cutie band and it's nothing for them. But when they watch the film, they understand the feeling of the member, and they feel that the kids are more mature than they think.
I'm interested, you said you came in after a year. How did the project come about and what attracted you to this particular documentary? And the managers of the band, how much input did they have into what you were shooting and to the direction you took the film? And did they want to have a look at the final cuts? And because normally these bands are very closely stage managed, and it was a pretty rare opportunity to get the girls talking openly. So I'm interested in how much sort of feedback you got.
Actually, my first worrying about this project is the company, the headquarters, the owner of the band, the manager. I'm quite afraid that they will interfere with the film in the final cut or something like that. But to solve that problem, so I quite talk to them very open about what I want to do first, and they agree to go with this way together, and they say yes. They think it's okay to let the member talk very open like this. But actually, I'm not quite believe them actually, but I just forget it and just shoot. And when we are in the final cut process, it's like that. They let me make the film like this, which is quite surprising for me also that they don't interfere with that. In the first step, I do something like this. I let the members say the bad things, good things, everything. The first half is quite like this, but it's longer. But it's long. I try to cut it out because the length of the film is not by the order of the manager. And what I quite interested in this band and accept this project is like I think this is a group of teenagers who experience quite special situation in life. It's like you going to the band which has many rules. To me, it's like to stop your youth, to stop your one of the most happiness time in your life. It's like teenagers, because actually there's a lot of regulation. For example, like no photo with the fans in the public place, and you can have a boyfriends, girlfriends, yeah, and many things. So I think it's like if this is a fictional film, it's kind of special story for me. It's like strange situation that these teenagers have to experience and they learn something from it. It's like coming of age film. So I focus on, as I said, I focus on youth, teenagers, which has some special experience in their life.
영화 너무 잘 봤고요. 전 사실 몇 년.
I saw your film, previous film in Busan before, and I've been paying attention to your film since then. And I'd like to know what your next project is.
For my next project is maybe next year I go back to work in the studio again. Yeah, it's like the second time to working with the studio. So it's quite narrative film.
영화를 보면서 텍스트가 되게 많은 영화라고 느꼈어요.
Watching the film, I realized that there were a lot of texts, like captions in the film. And I think idols sell fantasies to their fans. How did you communicate with them to go into deep inside of their heart, to see the inner feelings of them?
It's hard to say. I don't know how I communicate to them to get the conversation like this. I think it's like I come at a good time. That it's like the year after, and they never had a chance to talk something like this. And I think they are enough to be like fantasized person, something like that. They just like give up and they just be themselves. So they're brave enough to talk like this, because like the process during shooting this documentary, many people always ask me that how can I communicate with them to get the result like this. I always answer them that I had to nothing. I do nothing. I just be friends with them, because it's like these are the teenagers who met a lot of media. They have a lot of protection, and it's like barrier. So I don't want to go in as another media who make a film about them. I just want to be friends with them. And I think when we are friends, we are open to talk to anything.
아무래도 이제 해외에 이제 AKB
There is a mother, literally translated mother group in Japan, which is AK48. And there has been several documentaries about the group already. So I'd like to know if you took any references from those films. And I noticed that there is an influence from the director Iwai Shunji, such as in the ending scene where the leader has an interview. So what was your concern and what was your idea about those previous documentaries?
Actually, I just watched it a little bit, but I think I should have a quite different style from those documentary of AKB. So I just watched it a little bit and try to forget about it. And for my opinion, the AKB documentary is kind of annual report, which is different from what I'm interested in. So don't worry becomes the same thing or something like that. But for Shuji Iwai, it's my personal reference. I mean, I like his film in those times. So maybe you can see some element in the film. But it's not about the documentary that directed by Shuji Iwai for AKB48. And I think the atmosphere of AKB and BNK is quite different. To me, it's like AKB is like everyone is they know themselves that they are a competitor. But for BNK48, it's like friends. So it's not the same. But I think it's a special thing for 48 groups in Thailand.
예, 그 찍고 나서
Were there any parts that you intentionally cut out from the original source?
The footage I cut out is mostly is like true personal thing. I mean, it's too personal for the main story. But I would be happy if the manager want to make a spin-off because a lot of footage that it could be cool to tell it out, but it must be in the storyline of each member. Yeah, it's better.
ความพึงพอใจระดับไหนครับ
พึงพอใจมากแต่จะดีถ้าเกิดได้ Q&A 2 รอบนี้มาเขาจัดที่มารอบเดียว แต่คนอื่นเขาก็ได้รอบเดียวมั้งรอบเดียวก็ไม่เหนื่อยไง
คำถามวันนี้เป็นยังไงบ้างพี่
ดีก็ลึกตามสไตล์กูซานเพราะที่นี่มันลึกอยู่แล้ว ที่นี่มันแบบแบบซึ่งดีนะมันรู้สึกว่ามันสนุกคนทำมันจะคล้ายๆคนฝรั่งคนนั้นที่ทำอะไรเงี้ยจะมีความเป็นเรื่องนอกหนังมาถึงเป็นเรื่องกระบวนการทำถามว่าใช้บูมยี่ห้ออะไรอ่ะแบบทำไมวะขอบคุณมากนะครับสวัสดีครับบายแล้วคัดจบไป